After Thinkers, we've got a great episode right here during Holy Week to talk about all kinds of different stuff. But first, we want to invite you, if you're in the Austin area, to Easter services. We have 2 Good Friday services, 5:30 and 7:30. And then we have a ton of Easter services, Saturday 4 and 6, Sunday 7, 8:30, 10, 11:30, and 1. And we would love for you to come celebrate Easter with us. So come to one of those. If you're in Denver, we got a bunch of services up there at our locations. Get to one of those in Littleton, Lakewood, Arvada, and Park Meadows. We have a lot of Afterthinkers in Denver, and we love all of you. And if you're outside of those 2 cities, get to a Good Friday service and get to an Easter service this weekend. And with that said, welcome to our Holy Week episode.
Welcome back to Red Rocks News. We are imperfect news reporters in search of the perfect news story. And boy, do we have one for you. It is Easter week. And you know where we're going, to the field. To our field reporter, Ethan Matott, who is right now live in that field. Ethan?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh. Absolutely. Oh boy. Guys, I'm sorry. Something's not right. Something's wrong with me. I can't. What's going on? Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know if I can do the newscast. Maybe it's because of the hair.
This because you cut your hair?
Might be.
I'm sorry, can somebody tell me what's going on, Kayla?
They're saying something's really wrong with Ethan in the field.
Absolutely. Oh, I can't. Hey, Doug, it's me, Ethan. Hey, guys, happy Easter, everybody. Oh, no.
Hey guys, we're gonna take 5.
That's
So, the newscast?
I think we're gonna have to come up with a different option.
Hey, E, just checking in, buddy, to make sure you're all right.
Absolutely not, Doug.
I can't do this.
But let me.
Absolutely.
You're still the same person, though, right? But you just got a haircut.
That off note is perfect for Maddie.
Oh, if only it were that simple.
Okay. Right, Doug? You are right, Doug. It's Easter.
I don't know, Sean, I'm just worried about him, man.
As you should be. We've always known he was a liability. We cancel Easter without this newscast, Ryan.
No, man.
Absolutely right. It's fine. It's absolutely. It's Easter, guys. For Good Friday.
This is how you get the news out, people. Picture this on the front page. Good Friday services at Red Rocks Austin, 5:30, 7:30 p.m. No kids at the 7:30. Wow. Easter services, Saturday at 4 and 6 p.m. And then Sunday morning, 7, 8:30, 10, 11:30, and 1 p.m. Some churches still know how to get the word out.
We're gonna reset. We just gotta reset. It looks pretty good to me, Doug. It's Easter, guys. Back to you, Doug. Back to you, Doug. It's your turn to do it.
We're still gonna do the newscast, right?
Guys, you know what?
It's gonna be. I'm fine. It's fine.
Yeah, E, we're doing the newscast, right? Guys, I think it's probably about time we retire the newscast.
Oh.
No, I mean, guys, we need the newscast. No, I think the newscast. Stop it. Guys, stop. Newscast. Stop newscast. Chanting newscast. Ah!
Tell me about those nightmares.
Absolutely right, Doug. Absolutely. Is the church a place or a people? It's a people, but in this case, it's also a place. To speak practically, it's this place. Never understood the Easter eggs thing, Doug, but when it comes to eggs, what I do know is his yolk is easy and his burden is light.
Hey, it was just a dream. Easter's gonna be fine.
I wake up and I remember I'm a shadow of that man.
Me and the boys are going to be rollerblading to church. Rollerblades are essentially cars for your feet. Cars for your feet. Cars for your feet. Why can't I do the newscast anymore?
People won't know about Good Friday services at 5:30 and 7:30, but that there's no kids at the 7:30. They'll bring their kids. They won't come to the early services at 7 and 8:30. They won't show up on Saturday to make more room on Sunday. The new families won't even get in. There won't be enough parking spots. People won't carpool.
This is also a cool way to carpool.
Here.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Go back to her.
Because it seems like you're starting to unravel. Okay, you're only half the man you were. And you're only getting minimal amount of views on your podcast.
I mean, yes, I didn't mention the podcast at all, but I guess that's all true.
You need to go make peace with your old self.
Came to say goodbye. I can't do the newscast without you. So goodbye to you and goodbye to the newscast. I want to say thank you for all the amazing newscasts we did and all the important Easter info that we shared. And I don't know what I'll do without you. I don't know why you're gone.
The music's so perfect.
It's you. Or me, I guess. Where did you go? Why did you leave me? Absolutely not, brother. I never left you. You forgot who you are, and so you've forgotten me. This whole thing, the newscast, it was never in the hair. It was always in here, the sunglasses. The sunglasses. Get back to the newscast. I can do, or you can do this, or we can do this. Time to get back out in that field. Let's go film a newscast. What do you say?
He's back. That's what I'm talking about. Action. Welcome back to Red Rocks News. You know the drill. We are imperfect news reporters in search of the perfect news story. And today, we have one for you. As you know, Easter is upon us, and we're going to the field to our field reporter, Ethan Matott.
Absolutely right, Doug. We are hopping into Easter week, and we are excited to be here. And when I say excited, I mean excited. We got so many services, it's impossible to count, Doug. 9 total. We're talking 2 Good Friday. Cross my heart, hope to be there. We got 2 on Saturday, premier services, Doug. We're talking 4 p.m., we're talking 6 p.m., and then 5 on Sunday. And I just want to shout out that 7 a.m. service, Doug. It's really kind of a sunrise service, but all things considered, I guess all of our Easter services are sunrise services because this weekend, the sun will rise.
Well, I guess that is why they call it the good news. And it seems to me that you're feeling yourself again, aren't you, Ethan?
Absolutely right, Doug.
So amazing, bro.
We're not going to bury the lead today. First things first. Our producer, Threethan.
Bro.
A creative genius. Put together the newscast video that is currently spreading around.
It is so good.
The way you edited that was unbelievable. Are you proud of what you just did?
You know, I'm proud of the speed in which we did it.
Yes.
Somebody, I'm just gonna read one of the comments. Somebody asked how it was written.
Oh.
And it was 99.9% improv, which is crazy.
Yes.
So I basically just hit record and chased the 3 of you guys around.
Well,
that's not entirely true though.
That's why I said 99.9.
But that 0.1, watching you like on set with this ridiculous premise, knowing like in the back of your mind how it's all going to work out, it was really brilliant.
Wildly impressive.
You did very good.
If you don't know what we're talking about, check our Instagram, Red Rocks Austin, for the newscast. But
just get on Instagram. It'll be trending.
Oh.
I'm sure the algorithm is
Sure of it.
putting that thing first and foremost right now.
Tuesday of last week, we had our creative meeting, and Kayla and Threethan had an idea of a coming-of-age film about something to do with the newscast falling apart and finding it again. We shot it on Thursday in one day, a couple hours, and you had that done 2 days later.
Dude.
For you to turn it into what you did, man. Well done.
Unbelievable. Watching you film, and even the staff meeting where we had the whiteboard and there's like 10 people in that circle, and you only have, it looks when you watch it like there's 4 cameras filming the whole thing, but it was just you with one camera, having somebody say something and then pausing and going to a different side of the circle and then filming again. And it was just like incredible to see the final finished product. And I feel like you could see it as you were filming it, you knew what it was going to look like. And we were recording that a few different times from just different angles. And I'm like, I have no idea. Because we're not saying, because even at the different angles, we're not saying the exact same things.
Just trying stuff.
Yeah.
And then but you saw it all.
It was amazing.
I saw it close enough.
Mm-hmm.
You just gaslight yourself into thinking it's going to work. That's what I said. It's like,
yes.
You know what?
So much of life is that.
Wow.
Right there.
Self-gaslighting.
You just look in the mirror and you say, this is going to work because it has to.
It has to.
Dude, that is what being an adult is.
Wow.
Just gaslighting yourself.
Is that the title of this podcast? Gaslight.
That's
Just
really
gaslight
good.
yourself.
Just
gaslight yourself.
Yeah.
With the just
like that.
in the front.
Just
gaslight yourself.
Easy.
Yeah,
You
man.
just
All
tell
the best
yourself
things
it's gonna
happen
work.
when you tell yourself it has to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so profound.
Because
we
it
got to
works,
figure this out.
Because that works in the other way as well. When you just tell yourself it's not going to happen, then it usually doesn't happen.
You don't have a shot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just gaslight
That's your advice.
yourself.
You did create a problem because my intention was to bury the newscast.
Right.
And just be like, that guy's dead.
Which you did
we have to move forward.
until the final
and then,
scene.
Because it's Easter, you resurrected the newscast, which makes you wonder what the heck will we do next year?
I will say that I was so happy you came in that morning kind of like disheveled looking. You were like clearly hadn't slept like enough. And he was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I was like, oh, you good? I think you literally said, I'm just completely underwhelmed with how I'm going to do or something. What you said something along the lines of like, this is going to be underwhelming.
I just didn't think, I didn't
You're like, you said I'll never
it.
measure up. And I said, that's exactly what you need to say to yourself
Yeah.
because that's your character. You have to.
He is a method actor.
I had
said
to
you're
unravel.
method acting. You didn't sleep so you could be insecure.
I was up
So
late the night before filming, making a PowerPoint about the 30 biggest influences in Chris Rube's life. That's what cost me a lot of sleep. And then but it did work out perfectly for method acting because I watched last year's and I was like, there's no way today we can come up with something. And you did.
Nope.
Thank you.
You gaslit yourself
I
in
gas-
that
you
bathroom.
gaslit
I'm
me
convinced you looked
in a
in the
good way.
mirror
Or
and you
Mayo,
said,
well done, bro. That was
man.
amazing.
Thank you.
Also, that PowerPoint presentation
It was
was
phenomenal.
also fantastic.
Thank you.
Yep.
People, it's a very non-conventional thing we do at this church when we make things like that. A few people have asked, like, what is the purpose? Why do you do that?
Right.
The first time we made one of the newscasts was because we kept getting asked the same questions over and over about like, this was back when it was like, how do I get into the parking lot? Like simple things, which service should I come to? So we were just all talking one day, we're like, we got to come up with a way to get information to people and they'll actually hear it. Because when, as we joked about in the video, when you announce something from the stage at church, you can look around the room, you're like, no one will remember that I'm saying this right now. You put cards on seats and then people leave and most of the cards are still on the seats.
Mm-hmm.
People will send us an email or DM us for information that's right on our website or right on our Instagram. Yeah. So you just realize people, like you have to really grab someone's attention in today's world. So this has been our creative attempt over the years to see if we can get people's attention. And we'll find out if it worked on Easter.
Yeah. And also, should probably shout it out. It was a little bit on my end, kind of like a love letter to my ancestors, those who come before me, who paved the way. Jacob Phillips.
Jacob Phillips.
Obviously.
Yes.
Shout out to
Yes.
Jacob.
He made
Come on, Jake.
a couple newscasts in his day.
Yes, he has.
And he loved to. And he
is.
loved this one. So well done to you.
Well done.
And Kayla, who's not with us today.
The only problem I foresee with the newscast, this video, is that it's so entertaining and so good that you remember that and not the actual information that we say twice in the
very
video.
clearly.
It's so good.
It is. It's hard to
That's
do.
that's the problem with entertainment. You can't entertain them too much.
You can see people are going to be walking in smiling to the 10 a.m. Like the newscast was awesome.
I love the newscast.
But did you hear it?
Yeah.
Did you hear what we told you?
not.
How we told you not to come to this one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No, they will.
They will. But anyway, great job.
Yeah.
I loved the last episode. You did some segment, song, little intro things. What do you call it? Jingle?
Fire.
You just been on fire, dude.
Well, you guys, you introduced a lot of new segments.
Right.
So we just wanted to honor your decisions.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I've got a segment. I think I've done it before.
Incredible.
But I've got a segment. We're going to jump around. Since we've been talking about the newscast, we're going to talk about the news. In the news.
Mm-hmm.
The segment is called In the News.
In the news.
I will tell you a headline, and I just want to hear your quick reactions to it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Rory McIlroy wins the Masters.
History.
Was that the best Masters? I think 2019 for me still has to be number one, where Tiger came back and won.
Yeah, this is close.
But if we take that out, I think that was my favorite I think that might have been my favorite experience watching the back nine.
It was wild.
On a Sunday.
It was unbelievable.
It was so good.
Unbelievable, man. It was drama.
Uh-huh.
It was history. It was painful and exciting.
Dude.
You watch Rory torture himself for 5 or 6 hours. And I had so many moments watching it on TV with you guys, and I would be like so excited for him after one shot, and then after the very next shot, positive that he's going to ruin everything, even though it's right here for the taking.
Yeah. Painful.
And went back and forth so many times you see him almost put it in the water on 11, and then and all you have to do is not go left. And then on 13, he goes left and puts it in the water, and you think you just ruined everything. And then he goes and hits a shot that only Rory can hit on 15 around a tree to stick it on a par 5.
Unbelievable.
It was so much of that back and forth of, how did you just do that? And then, oh my gosh, how did you just do that?
I know.
All the way until the last putt, which was like maybe 3 feet. You could you could tap it in with your foot.
That approach shot.
And it had to be that close. Oh my
When
gosh.
he missed the putt on 18 and you knew he was going to a playoff, you're like, oh, this is...
And you knew he was going to miss the putt on 18.
So painful.
Oh, yeah.
But he showed true grit. And it takes grit to take heart.
That's right.
I don't know if you remember that from a series we did.
I remember it.
Congrats to Rory.
Congrats to Rory, friend of the podcast.
And
hopefully
Justin
we'll get
Rose,
him on in the offseason.
Shout out to him for being a class act, man.
He made a great run at the end.
Yes, he did.
Can't wait to hate those guys during the Ryder Cup
Of
later
course.
this year. Okay.
I could talk about the Masters for the rest of this. We could break it down one hole.
That birdie on number 10, that moved you.
Oh, yeah.
The demons being cast out at hole 10.
Oh, because what year was it? 2012, 2010?
Spiritually dark hole of golf.
2011?
I think it was 2011, but I might be wrong.
Rory was ahead. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, a Grand Slam is when you win each of the 4 major tournaments in golf. And so the US Open, the British Open, which is now the Open, the PGA Championship, and then the Masters.
Yep.
And up until this weekend, only 4 golfers in all of history have ever done that.
Yep.
And Rory,
the 3 of us and Tiger.
the 3 of us and Tiger Woods.
Wow.
And Rory won 3 of them. And so he was on the verge of a Grand Slam as of like 14 years ago.
Right.
He had won the PGA, he'd won the US Open and the Open. And back in 2011, I believe, was supposed to, he was ahead on Sunday going into the back 9 for the Masters, which is the pinnacle of all golf tournaments, even the majors. And he blew it.
Yeah.
And that's where everything unraveled for him. And
so then this Sunday,
though,
he steps up and birdies it.
He birdies it. Yeah.
Amazing.
That's it, man.
And the guy announcing, I don't know if it was Jim Nance or somebody else, said, hole 10 demons, forget about it.
Yeah.
And
There's
I love
something
that.
redemptive about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Anyways.
And then they sent them into a herd of pigs near Augusta. All right. Next up, continuing with sports. NBA playoffs begin this weekend. Nuggets 4 seed taking on the Clippers first round. Your thoughts on the NBA playoffs?
Yep. Here's my thoughts. The West is ridiculous. Even the fact that it came down to be as close as it was, like on Sunday, there was so much movement up for grabs during the Masters.
Yeah.
There's also that Clippers Warriors game, and everything's moving around. It was a stressful. Pray for us, guys.
So
it was a stressful time.
Pray for us last Sunday, guys.
Yeah. Good luck to us last Sunday, to our teams. I think that's a sign that we're going to have a couple of really great series. Sometimes in the NBA playoffs, it's like the first round is like a bunch of 4 to 5 game series. I want to see some 7-game series.
I think it's going to happen.
I'm glad that the Nuggets got the Clippers. And then I was driving home thinking about the Clippers run that they've been on and Kawhi being healthy, and I'm nervous. The Clippers look really good.
Yep. Nervous, but maybe I should say I'm just optimistic. Not optimistic, but I'm not pessimistic.
Right. You're the perfect right of
You're
mystic.
mystic.
I'm a mystic.
You're a mystic.
I'm a mystic.
Whoa.
For the Nuggets.
A mystic.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
the Nuggets, because we fired our coach and GM with 3 games left.
Right.
Everybody's doubting us right now.
Not typically what you do.
Everyone's like, well, their season's over. And I feel like all the guys in that locker room right now are kind of like, well, the world's against us. Nobody believes in us.
Us against the world.
Let's go. So I kind of think the Nuggets might make some noise. I'm a little excited, but I'm going to regret saying that when I'm in pain watching games.
It's our post Malone era.
Give me anyone but the Celtics out of the East, but it will probably be the Celtics.
Well done.
Give me anybody else.
Dude, even the Cavs. I would love that for
Sure.
the Cavs.
Great.
Just not the Celtics.
In the West, come on, Nuggets.
Mhm.
And if you watch this podcast for the next couple weeks, you will hear updates about the Nuggets and the Avs, Colorado Avalanche, NHL
yeah.
playoffs. Avs have a good team, but have to play against the Stars because the NHL playoff format is stupid.
E, we're sleeping on Doug's comment. This is
What'd
our
he say?
post Malone era.
Yes.
You know, I got to give credit to actually Pat Sproles for that.
Pat,
You know, but
There's the Pat. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great.
I was going to say, I thought about it a few days before I golfed with him, and then he said it out loud, and I said, oh, I had thought that though a couple of days ago, but I can't say that to you because he nailed it.
He
It
nailed it.
was so
Said it
good.
at the right moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well done.
Stepping out of sports, this is going to shock our audience. Now, this is real news, and I know everyone's very opinionated and political in this world, so I hope everyone
here we go.
hope everyone can handle this. This is a headline reported by CNBC. Texas Roadhouse surpassed Olive Garden as the biggest casual dining chain in the U.S. last year.
No, I was positive you were going to bring up tariffs.
Well, you don't know what my next headline is.
Oh, okay.
I've never been to Texas Roadhouse. I got called out on that last week.
Yeah.
I've never been.
Oh, okay.
Your greatest podcast quote you've ever said was, here we just call it Roadhouse.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you guys been?
Uh-huh.
Is it better than Olive Garden? I don't believe it can be. Austin's saying it is over there.
Austin, you're a big Texas Roadhouse guy.
I think the butter rolls they bring you
Yeah.
are better
Can you give him
than
the
the
mic?
breadsticks.
Give him the mic.
The
Austin,
butter rolls
this
they bring
is
you.
Austin Fairchild. He's
Yeah.
Let's go, Austin.
part of the production crew here.
Roadhouse is top tier.
What
Yeah.
do you get there?
Typically like fried chicken,
Okay.
like
Wow.
a burger,
Okay.
potatoes, mac and cheese.
Wow.
Mhm.
You know,
Big
the
portions.
rolls,
The
or like
rolls.
Sounds like
bread
Mod
at the
Market.
Yeah.
Very
beginning,
healthy.
cinnamon butter,
Uh-huh.
So,
the ambiance, the
Wow.
lighting. you
There's a
know.
lot going on.
I gotta go.
I take the butter
There's
rolls over
one
the
a mile
breadsticks.
from my house. I didn't even know.
yeah, you got to go to it.
Zach was like, "You've never been there? There's one right there."
You can
We
walk.
went there. Me and Sam went there our first week in Austin, and then we haven't been there since.
Well, guys, maybe we go there someday.
Yeah, maybe we do.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
Yeah, it used to be
I am
right across
such
the street
a-
from our old office.
Yes, exactly.
Uh-huh.
I am such an Olive Garden loyalist that this is a
Yeah.
hard headline for me to read. I didn't know it was the biggest casual dining chain.
I
My-
kind of take issue with the word casual.
yeah, Olive Garden's not casual.
I don't think either. I think both of them are nice.
Dress up and
Yeah,
get to
man.
Olive Garden, man. My brother and I have a dream trip to go on a pilgrimage to Orlando, and everyone's like, "Oh, because you're going to go to Disney or something." It's like, no, the original Olive
Yes.
Garden is in Orlando, and my brother and I are going to go someday.
You guys got to go.
When I took Sam on our first date post the 2012 AC project.
Oh, your
So,
post Malone era.
Our post Malone
Yeah.
area. Post project.
Post AC.
We
project.
hadn't obviously seen each other in a year.
Right.
And then I'm back in the very first week. I take her. I'm like, I'm taking you on a nice date.
Which, to be fair, our bank accounts were at about like $38
Yes.
a piece at this
Thank
point.
you for
Uh-huh.
being fair.
And
This is Ryan's segment. To be fair,
To be
though-
fair,
to be fair,
we had no money.
to be fair though,
but I thought
here, look at him. He's getting the time code. He's going to make some ridiculous thing out of that.
To be fair, though, 4 days earlier, we were trying to bungee jump, and we weren't sure if we were able to bungee
We
jump
had enough money.
because we didn't know if we had enough money.
Yeah.
Like, not like, is this responsible? But like, I don't actually know if there's enough money in my account to like swipe my debit card.
I
right.
risked the Chase Bank overdraft
Yes.
fees on that. I was like,
So to be fair,
I'll
though,
figure that out
I
another
was already
time.
getting them from Wells Fargo.
Well, Wells Fargo was charging everybody for everything back
yeah,
then.
Wells Fargo
That's
is
true.
They
taking
still
us
owe us
down.
money.
They do.
We should sue them as Afterthoughts podcast. If you're listening, Mr. Fargo, we're coming
Deal.
for you. All right, Doug,
Yeah.
back to you, man.
To be fair, though,
To be fair.
though,
What was I talking
No.
about? Oh, Olive
You took
Garden.
Sam to Olive Garden.
Yeah, that was like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So
To be fair though, that was a long time ago.
I took Sam to
It's
Olive
working out.
Garden.
Yeah, for your big date.
But I actually told her, I was like, babe, we're going somewhere a little nice. So
Yeah.
let's get dressed up.
Yeah.
And I thought, to be fair, I thought it was,
yeah.
I had
Totally.
only ever been there once or twice before that. And
to
I
be fair,
remember it
though,
just being super nice.
If people always tell,
Yeah.
I'm like, do you all go to Red Ash every weekend? Like, relax.
Yeah,
Olive
dude.
Garden. Like, people talk down about it. I'm like, this is an upscale dining
Olive Garden's,
establishment.
it's amazing.
Well, now it's the second biggest casual dining chain, but I'm going to try to get it back to number one. But I am going to go to Roadhouse. Maybe we could do a podcast live on the road at Roadhouse.
Live on the road.
Podcast live on the road at Roadhouse. It flows really well.
Texas live on the road.
Okay. Threethan, you're going to have to speak to this as well. First emotion that comes to mind when I read this headline to you.
Okay.
OpenAI is reportedly building a social network.
That's
What do
new-
we mean by
news to me.
open social network?
This is real? Like you read that somewhere?
Yeah.
This isn't rumors with Ryan.
This is not rumors with Ryan.
This is a fact.
That comes later.
Yeah, I haven't heard that. Oof.
What do you think it means?
I don't. I want to say I don't know. I don't feel
I
good
think
about
it
it.
means-
You kind of shocked me. OpenAI.
OpenAI they've been the forerunners of AI development.
Yeah.
Correct, Threethan? Like
Yes.
Chat, GPT, and that stuff. They really have been like spearheading.
They're
out
just
ahead of
doing
everyone
it.
else.
I just saw this article. This could also be a rumor with Ryan, but
Rumors. with
he's
Ryan.
doing it to just compete with Elon, and Elon and him started OpenAI together.
Yeah.
So he's just trying to
Okay.
make another X. If he was successful, that'd be terrifying. I just
Why?
don't think he would be, because like the abilities that they have, his AI is still, in my opinion, like 100 times better than like Meta's.
Yeah.
Like if you ever like try to search something on Instagram and it's like gives you like a spaghetti recipe for like no reason, you know what I mean? Like
From
it's-
Olive Garden.
Right.
from
Yeah.
Olive
When you're
Garden,
here.
yeah. The
But
worst
what is-
of his kind.
Can
So
I tell
this-
you guys what's going through my mind right now?
Describe.
Is
Yeah.
I'm picturing like Instagram, except it's a bunch of robots who are creating a bunch of fake profiles.
Which is
Oh, they're
probably-
doing that now.
And they're all
Yeah.
they're all like creating this community, and they're all like, cool picture of your kid, like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Like that's what's going on in my mind. Am I completely
No,
off here?
That's
Or
Instagram.
is that what?
That's bots, yeah. But that's what I think is scary about it to me is like, at what point will people even like social media being completely all taken by AI?
Dude,
And
well, I
it's
mean,
like
what would
nothing's
the
real on
difference
there, and
be?
you don't know what's real people, and people are sending you messages, but they're not real people.
It's more dopamine.
More.
That's what it is.
Dopamine.
More
Ah.
dopamine.
That's wild, man.
I mean,
Yeah.
social
I don't
media has
know.
lost a lot of the human element that it once had or was intended to have a long time
No.
ago. But this feels like it will completely lose that at this point.
Which could be the best thing for it.
Yeah,
This
maybe it
might
just does it
be-
in.
Maybe we just need to put an end to all of it. Like it'll become so absurd and outrageous that it'll be like ironic to use social media at some point.
Could be.
How many episodes was that ago that we had the ChatGPT as a guest?
Oh yeah.
Afterwards,
was
Ryan
weird.
was just like silent. I feel like the entire week.
Yeah,
he
I
just
didn't
sort of-
like
He,
it.
he was just shook. He was like, just like kind of sitting in his chair quietly. I was like, I don't know
Yeah.
if this makes you feel any better. And this is something I said to you, and then I've been thinking about it ever since. And this month, been working on some stuff with like AI and just really kind of captured with the like idea of we focused so hard on the fear that robot would gain sentience
Right.
that we didn't realize we lost ours.
Ooh.
So
Wow.
Clip it. Put it all over social media so everyone can know how brilliant Threethan is.
So all the
And we can get
bots know.
dopamine. Bro, Sway, say a little bit more about that.
Yeah,
I
that was
just
brilliant.
we're so focused on like, oh, the robots are gonna be just like humans. We're like, it's gonna emulate. You're not gonna be able to tell. There's like a test that they can do now where if an AI chat can trick a human,
Yeah.
I can't remember what they call it. There's like a certain type of test that you do. It's like, oh, if you pass this type of test, then it's like this is a certain level of AI where it's like you can trick a person into thinking you're a person. It's everywhere. ChatGPT 4 can do it. Grok can do it, which is like X's
yeah.
version of it. but we're so focused like, oh man, this can emulate a person that we didn't realize over the last 10 years since social media has taken over. Like we're in every facet of our life becoming less and less like a person. The way that we like present ourselves on social media, even
Filters.
in person. Yeah, filters,
Yeah.
but even like in-person stuff that you're doing, it's like we are becoming less and less like a person. We're just meeting the bots in the middle. Like,
Dang.
yeah. Even like when's the last time I've written a long form anything that I didn't at least have chat look over for like grammatical spelling or like when's the last time you didn't use spell check?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, probably pretty recently for me, but
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just like, and it's so small,
Same.
and you think
I'm
that
a
you
good
wouldn't be a
speller.
part of it,
Very
but
good
in some
speller.
way, like you're more and
Yes,
more
that's
dependent on.
It's a really good
electronics.
thought, man. That the focus for us should be on continuing to be as human as we
Right.
possibly can be.
Right now, those, when you try to log in and it's like, make sure you're a human. And it's like, which of these has a traffic light in it? I'm like, I'm pretty sure Chat GPT knows that. I think
Better
the
than
AI
me.
can figure that out pretty quickly.
I get
fail
them wrong.
those.
I get those things wrong all the
You do.
time. I'm like, I don't know if that's a bridge or
is
not.
that a-
Let's try one more time.
Some of them are really bad photos. You're like,
Yeah.
I can't tell what
And
that is at all.
now I'm locked out of my Gmail.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
but I'm gonna have to use AI to hack into it for me. Well,
Yeah.
Motorcycle, but that's a moped. Does that count?
okay.
Yes,
Well,
yeah.
that's it. Let me make a really sharp spiritual transition turn here.
Yeah.
You look all the way back at like, what is it called? Like a masquerade party where everyone wears masks to it. So you can kind of go out into this social setting, but nobody really knows who you are. I feel like that's really been humans' attempt since fig leaves, is always trying to not really just be who we are and be seen as who we are. Transition into talking about Holy Week. We're in Holy Week now after weeks of talking about this week. And what I love about Holy Week is it's like Jesus unmasks everything that week.
Yeah.
And everyone is exposed in front of him, like for who they really are, their motives, what they truly value, care about, their personality, their worth, all of it is now fully out on the table in front of everyone.
Yeah.
It's a sharp contrast to culture in general, especially ours right now. And we've talked about kind of the unmasking of Judas, the unmasking of Peter, the unmasking of John, of all these guys and the Pharisees,
Even the religious
the
leaders,
crowds, the religious leaders, all these people are unmasked by Jesus in Holy Week, and confronted with your mortality, with where this all goes from here, with what you believe. Like it gets you kind of down to the deepest level questions of the core of existence and confronts you with who you truly are, with the beautiful message coming out of it of that's who Jesus is trying to get to, is who you really are deep down within you.
Right.
To get you to the life that he is here to die for you to live.
Correct.
It's really good, man.
Has there been certain parts of this unmasking, as we're framing this conversation now, that have really spoken to you or stuck out this year, maybe differently than in years past? We've had 16 years that we've actually really cared about Holy Week probably in a row. Each year's a little bit different. Each year you do something to really try to get into it, I think. Has this year, spending weeks in here kind of unmasked anything in your life or related you to somebody in a new way in that narrative? And that right there is the Afterthoughts podcast for you. Just talking about Olive Garden, and the next thing you know,
it was
the depths of Holy
that was
Week.
a great transition, because like out of all the amazing things Jesus accomplished during Holy Week, one of them is teaching us how to be human again. Like at some level, it's not the deepest thing, it's not the most important, whatever. But at some level, it's him just going like, hey, let me show you, I am the most human of all of you. Like that's why I love that you see his emotions to like, okay, if you were to graph chart my emotions in a given day, like the wave is like pretty small. It's like I have some highs and I have some lows, but it's like the highs aren't that high and the lows aren't that low. It's just kind of like this. But what you see in Jesus in Holy Week is like these really amazing moments followed by these like incredibly angry moments where he walks into the temple and he flips over tables, followed by this like intense sadness where he weeps over Jerusalem. And there's like, it's like he's on display as the most human of all of us. And so I think my answer is this year, I'm learning how to feel my emotions a little bit more and not be afraid of them, both the good and the bad. I have felt the grieving process of Friday for like the last 2 weeks. And it's been like, it's like I've never been this excited for Sunday to get here. But like I'm very excited for our Good Friday service at some level, but I'm also just like I'll sit in it because it's sacred and because it's necessary and because it's part of this tradition. But I'm like really, really, really excited for Sunday. And I think part of that is just me letting go of like feeling like I have to keep it all together all the time. And feeling like it's my job to like let the church experience these emotions, but like as the leaders, we have to like keep it here so that we can keep steering the ship. And it's like, or you can just be like more like Jesus and just like let it be here and let it be here, and it's okay. And so that might sound like incredibly simple to some people listening, but I bet you there's a lot of other people who are like, no, yeah, I know that feeling of like I'm the guy that has to keep it like this, and it's like let's let it be more.
What advice do you give to
down.
that person who is kind of more in the middle and doesn't feel too high or too low, but wants to, but has no idea how to sit in the grieving of Good Friday, even if they wanted to? They're like, I don't know how to do that.
Celebrate the small victories. So you don't have to. You probably have a friend who understands their emotions and knows how to experience the highs and the lows to like a graduate level degree. You might be in second grade. And to that I say welcome. And like this year we're just trying to move to third grade. So you don't have to feel like you have to experience it like to that level. And if you don't, it doesn't count. The small victories are what it's all about. And so what if even just on Friday, if you live in Austin, show up to the Good Friday service. If you live somewhere else, go find a Good Friday service somewhere, or just watch the Passion of the Christ and just try for an hour just to sit in the sacred sadness that comes with Jesus breathing his last and saying it is finished.
That's a good answer. Yeah. I'm working on that too. So I was asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend. Totally, man.
Yeah. But being a little bit afraid to feel to the extremes. Yeah. Because, the more north you want to go, you have to be willing to go south as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just the world and life is so painful in so many ways that it's much easier to resolve yourself to the sort of middle. I won't go too high, I won't go too low. But it's the opposite of what you see Jesus do. And it's not really the full human experience.
Right.
And then you feel like you're robbing yourself at the end of the day of the human experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
I do, man.
And yeah, it's, right in the sermon right now, we've been talking to Sean about how does Easter speak to your mind? How does it speak to your heart? And how does it speak to your situation?
Yeah.
And the heart is the hardest one of those to figure out how to.
We keep coming back to it.
Yeah.
Like,
how do I feel this?
Yeah.
And how do I, not just me, but then through a sermon, how do I get everybody in this room
How do
to
I
feel
articulate
this?
this?
I can all day make a case for
apologetic.
Easter
Yeah.
and convince you and use a lot of history and even talk about like your situation. But as far as your heart goes and your feelings, and because even the idea of Easter can't be true, like the good news can't be true for me. There's a certain part for a lot of people where in your mind you realize, I think this is true.
Yeah.
This is a real thing that happened, but there's no way that it can be real for me because I feel, too far gone, or I feel too much like a fraud, too much of a sinner or an imposter. And feelings are tricky.
Yeah.
I'm not great at navigating them. So that was a great answer that you gave.
Yeah, man.
I'm trying to figure that out
I
as well.
resonate with everything you just said.
Yeah.
one thing that has stuck out to me as we've kind of taken a tour of the different people groups around and some individuals around Jesus during Holy Week is how innate it is within us as broken human beings to just think about ourselves. Like, I know we talk about that a lot with social media and phones and stuff, but like our self-interests, our motives, even just going about your day and looking back, like, man, I thought about myself a lot. Like I was just kind of thinking about my agenda and there's times where it feels like what other people need is inconvenient to me because what I really want to do for me is this. And the disciples, when Jesus gets arrested, they all scatter, and he even kind of gives them an out when he tells the people coming to arrest him, like, if you came for me, then you could have me. Like, don't arrest these guys, let them go. And they run for their lives. But as you pointed out, John's the only one who makes it to the cross. And it's like tragic, but also I could see it so deep within me that when stuff gets tough and your faith gets tested, it's real easy to just preserve and go into self-preservation mode than to stay out in the open with Jesus, even if it's tough. And one thing that has helped with the emotional part for me a little bit, and really like being challenged in my relationship with him, and am I really in this for him, is like letting him truly be personified to me, because Jesus is the personification of God. He is God's communication to us. If you want to know what God is like, you look at Jesus. But for us, 2,000 years after he was on earth, it can still feel very out there because we don't actually see him. So I almost have to like picture him as a real person with me and having conversations with one another, and not thinking of him as the clouds up in the sky, but truly a man who lived on earth like one of you, like one of my closest friends, somebody that I would sit down and talk to. And how, like, and when that person is in that moment of his pain, how would I respond to that? If he's really a friend to me and someone I love deeply and care about, which is why I love The Chosen.
I was going to say, do you picture the actor from The Chosen?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And I said last week, I know a lot of people don't like The Chosen, and I don't really want to talk about that, but I love it and I appreciate he is, I think, so well personified through that show. And of course, they take creative liberties, and it's not exactly who Jesus was. I think we're all smart enough to know that. But that Jonathan Rumi has done such an amazing job of absorbing scripture and truly taking that role on. Like, I've heard interviews of him, like the weight that he feels and carries to do his best to emulate something like what Jesus would have been like. And it's like truly watching scenes from that show where it starts to personify him to me, where I think about like interacting like him, like the disciples are interacting with him, you know, and having those real conversations. And it makes Friday really, really hard.
Yeah.
You talked about how Friday for a lot of people, it's almost like blinding, where you can't look at it because it is so deeply painful.
Yeah.
When you see Jesus as your savior and as your friend and as this just amazing man who loves you, to know that he walked through all that and you're complicit in that crime. You're part of the reason that had to happen. Like, hurts you to your core if you personify him and see him as a friend, which is why partially I think it's easy for us to kind of think of him more in the ethereal sense, like this God figure, but I don't see him like that. So it's really, really painful, but it is also deeply moving to realize that that is truly what God did to come here and show us himself on our turf in terms we could understand, in a relationship we could most closely understand with a God we can't understand, is wildly powerful. So the personification of Jesus is my short answer for a monologue I just gave about what helps you to really feel
That was great.
I feel like it's the mask we wear that makes the cross seem like the sun when you're trying to look at it. So the mask you wear, everybody can't know the real me, because if people knew what was really going on or what I really did just a few days ago, they wouldn't love me or they would judge me. And then we project that same thing onto God, thinking he already kind of knows. And so let me put this mask on as much as I possibly can and steer clear from him. It's kind of like a reverse. If the cross is almost like the sun, when it's hard to look at because there's like a secret in your life, or it's like reverse sunglasses. The mask is. It takes the cross and makes it brighter so you avoid it at all costs. But it's when you take the mask off, you're not any less imperfect.
Right.
You're on display fully. It's like the woman
Yeah.
caught in adultery.
Yeah.
That morning when she was dragged out of the tent on probably the darkest, dirtiest moment of her entire life, about to be stoned for it. And she's naked in every sense in the dirt. And Jesus shows up and everybody drops the stones and walks away. And then Jesus restores her, and it's grace and truth in that order. She, at the end of that day, experienced more love than anybody else who was there. God loved everybody on the scene equal, but she experienced it more because you can't experience it. You can't experience the unconditional love of God. Or I should say it this way: you can only experience God's unconditional love to the degree that you're willing to be known. And as long as you're masking something, we should be afraid of the mask, not the unmasking. Right? The unmasking is the mercy of God. He's going, until you unmask this, you're not going to be fully loved by those in your life who think something different than what's really true about you. And you're not going to know that you're fully loved by God. You're only going to know that you're loved to the degree that you can project this image of somebody who kind of sort of has it together, whatever your mask is. And that's what you should be afraid of, is masking it. Because what we need at the end of the day is the love of God. And when you have the love of God, I was thinking about how often I think about myself. I've been sick so much this year. And when I'm sick and when I'm not feeling good, I think about me. And
Totally.
but when I feel great, I actually I think about everybody else. And that's why.
That's funny.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like when I have a headache or a migraine too, I can't think about anybody else, honestly, man. It's so hard to do that. When you're sick, it's just, you think about how you wish you felt better than you do, and everything becomes about you. And Matthew Perry described alcohol and narcotics as when he, like, let's say when he was on Vicodin or OxyContin, he described it as, I finally felt taken care of. And he said, when I was high on those things, I was the least selfish version of me, all of a sudden taking care of everybody else. In a weird way, he said, once I finally had this substance that I felt like was taking care of me, I all of a sudden was completely selfless, and everybody else, I was like, what do you need? What do you need? What can I do for you? What can I? And that's a weird human thing, I believe, that we need to know. The more we know that I have what I need, and he had like a sort of counterfeit version of that, as we all do. The real one is God and that unconditional love. And the more of that you can have and understand and feel, the less I believe you'll think about yourself. Because you're taken care of. And so it's, I got everything. And so what can I do for you now? Because I know God.
What you just described about physical health is true of every type of health. When you are emotionally unhealthy, you're the person that everyone has to rally around because it's all inward right now, because I'm not doing okay. When you are, same with mentally healthy, the foundation of it is spiritual health. And you can just measure your day or your current state of life of, if I'm spiritually healthy, then I'm probably thinking about other people, because if I'm spiritually healthy, then I'm living under the understanding that my life is about loving God and loving my neighbor. If I'm spiritually unhealthy, then everything's going to start turning inward, which also all of the counterfeit gospels out there are going to lead you into a spiritually unhealthy environment. And you can tell that because they're all about you.
It's just you.
And it's going to be all about how you can get more, and you can do this and do this and do this and do this. And it'll always be under the banner of like, and we're loving and care about people, but it's really self-centered, all about you. And so you're spiritually unhealthy. And that's why we have this crazy culture of everyone grabbing at whatever they can for themselves and largely not growing healthier and more outwardly focused towards other people.
One of the best ways to combat that, I'm just convinced, is intercession, is praying for other people. One of the biggest tells that I'm caught up in that cycle is when all of my prayers start with me and be about me
Yeah.
and what God can do for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's always this sweet invitation to make even your prayers not selfish, to make your prayers about other people.
Yeah.
And the epitome of this, we are celebrating in a couple of days, of Jesus in the middle of being very emotionally not well, physically not well, and spiritually not well. As he hung on a cross, he said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. And so in the middle of all the pain, he's praying for other people. But man, I know that game of falling into that trap and feeling like without even noticing it, it's all become about me.
Yeah.
Putting on just a worship song and spending 4 minutes praying for other people is the best exercise.
That's good.
I'm convinced. Yeah.
That's the confrontation of Holy Week, in a way of unmasking that forces you to ask, who's this all about?
Yeah.
And in that confrontation, when you see what Jesus did, the hope is that it starts to make everything about him and realize he's deserving of that. What Holy Week, especially heading into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in the last few days of Holy Week, is there a specific moment that has always hit you, like at a deepest level? Obviously the grand narrative, but like one specific moment that has just...
For me, it's always Peter followed at a distance. It's always that line. So it takes place in the Garden of Gethsemane. And I think I'm preaching at Revive tonight. I think I'm gonna, the college ministry, UT. I think I'm gonna preach this piece of like Peter's talking this big game, like you talked about this weekend, and then Jesus gets arrested and everyone scatters. And then there's just this haunting line in Matthew's gospel that says, and Peter followed at a distance. Because I just resonate so much with that, where it's like, you're still in and you're too afraid to just like completely abandon this, but you're also too afraid to be with Jesus completely. And so you're just stuck. Like I just see him like spiraling as he follows at a distance. And it's always been this beautiful moment for me every year, where I, just because I resonate with Peter so much, where I think about like, if you could call time out and Jesus could pause everything and come have a conversation with Peter. I used to always think Jesus would be like, Peter, you just said a couple hours ago that you were going to be with me. Like, what's the deal? What happened? But over the years, the longer I just like read the Gospels and get to know Jesus, the more convinced I am that he would pause and he would just say, I know, Peter, I get it. I know that it's hard to be human. I know that this is challenging for you. That's why I'm going through all of this. And so you follow at a distance if you need to, but you watch what I'm doing. Because this is the intersection of love and justice, where I'm in love going to do something to pay the price for all of these mistakes. And so, it's Peter following at a distance and then being reminded that he always had a seat at the table. I think that speaks to like a really deep place in my heart and in humans' hearts in general.
Yeah.
I think Jesus praying in the garden, not my will, but your will be done.
Yeah.
That's a very scary prayer to pray. It's just hard to imagine how terrified he probably was, the human part of him. Knowing, that's like the pain of omniscience, when you know where this goes and how this ends, and you still have to voluntarily walk into it. Dude. The sweating beads of blood, like I don't even understand.
In the Case for Christ, that book, there's like a scientific explanation for it, that a human being can get to such a level of stress in their body that literally sweating blood is a real possibility.
Dude, that's, and
that weight.
And how it probably wasn't even the physical pain that he was afraid of. That's pretty unimaginable, because the cross was designed to be as painful as possible for as long as possible.
Right.
It was how do we create the most painful and slowest, torturous death?
Yes, where the word excruciating comes from.
Correct.
Crucifixion.
And that was the easy part of the cup that he was about to drink. He said, Father, if you're willing, take this cup away from me.
Wow.
I don't even think the cup had anything to do with the nails or the suffocating or the cat and nine tails or the whipping post or anything like that. The cup was all the wrath of God due all the sin of all of humanity.
Yeah.
Everybody. I mean, I know how low and terrible I feel spiritually, emotionally, and physically when I, in the aftermath of sin, where you just feel like, oh, I'll never not feel this way.
Yeah.
You feel so like disgusted and like you deserve to feel like that forever over one thing that
one
you as
time.
one person did. And so for every person ever and all the sin ever to be placed on you so that the cup of wrath could be poured out and the wrath of God do all of that in one moment, in like 6 hours on a cross.
Yeah.
So it could be absorbed fully in the body of Jesus Christ and paid for by that blood. That's what he was afraid of. He didn't even have time to be afraid of
some physical
huge
pain.
stakes going through his wrists. You know what I mean?
Oh. Yeah. 2 Corinthians 5 says that God took him who knew no sin to become sin for us, that we may become the righteousness of Christ. So what Doug's referring to is like Jesus is becoming that sin. He's having all of it put on his shoulders while he's hanging on the cross. That's insane.
And doesn't he die way faster than most people do being crucified?
Yeah,
and
they were surprised that he had already died.
Yeah, because he was carrying an invisible
weight
yet
that they knew nothing about.
unimaginable penalty and weight.
Yeah.
All of it, dude.
All of it, dude. Like the wages of sin is death.
Yes.
And he carried all of sin. So that probably led to death.
Death a lot quicker. That's wild. I've never thought about that.
Yeah, same.
Fast track.
Yeah, so
that's so
it's
heavy.
insane, man. And that we try not to think about it.
Yeah.
I heard a pastor, and I might talk a little bit to me, we talk about feeling and the heart. Talking about this stuff, to me, is actually helpful to understand how much God loves me.
Yeah.
And feel how much God loves me.
Yeah.
And, we can talk about like somebody who, what was the guy in 2012 in March Madness who snapped his leg?
Kevin Ware.
And you see the footage of him coming down after that shot or that rebound. And his calf went like this. It just in half, and you see it. And it's painful. It's even people will be listening to this right now and thinking, can't talk about that on a podcast because it makes me want to throw up in my car listening to it.
Right.
And that's just so gruesome and terrible. And yet we hear about Jesus being crucified and we don't bat an eye.
Yeah.
And it's so much more intense than that. Yeah. But we try not to feel it because it's almost too much to take in.
It's too much. It is too much.
Yeah.
A lot of people try to avoid, like, the Passion of the Christ movie is like, I could never watch that. And I'm like, I think you should. I think everybody should see that. And if you decide I'm going to actually watch that movie this week, which some years I do that during Holy Week, you have to do it through the lens of Scripture says, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross.
Right.
Because it does, guilt and shame are two different things.
Yeah.
I think there's actually a healthy place for guilt in our lives because it tells us this is right or wrong. And I think there's a part of us that watches that, and it's hard for us because we know our guilt that caused this. Yeah. Right? If someone steps in to take your penalty, you're like, oh, I feel bad that they have to do that. This is the nth degree of that. I actually think that's good for our soul. It checks us, because if you're someone who's like I was for early in my Christian walk, especially, like kind of a grace abuser of kind of like, oh, I guess I'm good, so I can kind of do whatever I want. Like, that'll stop you in your tracks and check you in, I think, a healthy way. But then there's also the other side that can make you feel horrible about yourself, and you're like, Jesus, you shouldn't have done this for me, whatever. but it was actually for the joy set before him that he endured it.
Mhm.
Chose to do this for you. He chose this. This is God's decision that he would endure the cross. But I think when you see the best depiction we have in the Passion of the Christ movie of that gruesome reality, it is healthy for you to really feel the weight of Friday.
Mhm.
And it builds, like you said, I'm never been so excited for Sunday.
Yeah.
I think you show up to Easter differently when you have lived Friday a little bit with him as much as you can, to realize how crazy, amazing, and wild it would have been to the people that watched that, felt that guilt, felt that weight. You know, some of the guys who crucified him were going home that night having a hard time sleeping. Like, that was not... And a lot of those guys were numb. Like, if you're living that kind of a life and that's what you do as a Roman soldier, you are numb to humanity. Like, to be able to every day go put somebody up on a cross, you have to completely shut your brain off. But the encounter they had with Jesus was very different than any other criminal they had crucified before. So you know that was haunting everyone. And then to find out that dude was back.
And he prayed for them while they were doing it.
Yeah.
That'll mess you up.
And it says in Acts, a lot of the priests, like a lot of that crew, they came to faith.
Yeah.
Which is really, really cool. That some of the very men that put him on that cross eventually were like, oh, he did that for me. And that prayer was ringing in their ears. He prayed for my forgiveness and then he died for my forgiveness right in front of me.
One of my favorite takeaways from Easter last year was noticing I was in Mark's gospel, and the very first line of Mark's gospel is, this is the gospel of Jesus, the Son of God, the Christ, the Son of God, the Messiah, the Son of God. And then for 15 chapters, you just get bad theology of people trying to figure out who Jesus is, and nobody can do it. Only the demons are like, know who Jesus is. Peter gets close in Mark 8. And then a couple verses later, Jesus is saying, "Get behind me, Satan." And then on the cross, there's a Roman centurion, which means a Roman general who's in charge of like 100 other soldiers. And it says he watches how Jesus dies and he goes, "Surely this was the Son of God."
Yeah.
It's like he's the one that cracks the code. He's the one that figures it out. It's the Roman soldier who watches how Jesus handles all of this. And he just has this like, oh no, that moment. It's wild.
That to me is what is
Do
always...
you realize what you've done?
Truly. What always sticks out to me and hits me on a deep level with Holy Week is, I think one of the most powerful things Jesus ever said was nothing. When he's getting questioned and he just doesn't defend himself. And they're like, Pilate tries to give him an out. Just doesn't say anything. And they're all kind of looking at him like, what's wrong with this guy? He won't make a case for himself. He won't say whatever to get out of this like anybody else would. He just sets his face to the cross and then he just does not relent, says nothing. That is the type of thing that makes those guys go, this is not some ordinary man. Beautiful and wild. So I think we do a disservice to ourselves by just showing up for Easter without having sat in the gruesome reality of Friday. I think we don't get the full scope of the beautiful thing that Jesus has done for us. Any other best practices? There's a lot of people, I think, that really have been feeling Holy Week through this series. And right now in these days leading up to Easter, anything you do that helps you to really kind of get into it on a deep level, other than watching the Passion of the Christ?
I mean, finding a lot of quiet time to reflect and to be in the Word and read it in all four of the different Gospels, like how each of those guys portrays and describes what happened, and asking God to help you to. We talked a little bit the last 2 weekends about smell with the perfume and with the charcoal fire, asking God to. And I also think that's where Passion of the Christ and especially The Chosen is very useful, because now I read the Gospels and it's a lot more real and vibrant, and I can picture the landscape and the buildings and the houses and how far those walks really were, you know? And that walk late at night from the Final Supper to the garden, you can smell it more. You can hear the leaves rustling overhead. You can hear, you know what I mean? You can see the moon. You can, and doing your best to, and asking God for help. Will you help this jump off the page at me?
Yeah, this isn't a fable. This was real. This isn't a legend. This was a real event that actually happened on this planet 2,000 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, there's when you read the Bible, I might get this wrong. So if you correct me if you know what I'm talking about, but logos is essentially the words written on the pages in your Bible. But then rhema is another Greek word that describes the experienced word of God. So it's like when you're sitting in a sermon and something happens mid-sermon where there's a phrase said or something gets highlighted or illuminated in your spirit, and you say stuff like, that sermon was written for me and it changed your life. And the friend that you went to church with was like, I mean, it was a cool sermon. It was logos for them. It was rhema for you. But in order for God to, for instance, I have verses that I memorized back in college, 20 of them with Shannon, our friend Shannon. And those 20 verses have been in my brain ever since. And at different times, God has brought them to the surface. And so it was memorizing logos, but in order for God to highlight rhema in your life and make it alive for you in that moment, you have to actually read it and get the logos into your spirit. So that's why he never wastes a moment of you getting into the Bible or memorizing a verse, even if it's not rhema in that moment. We all want it to be. We all want to feel like, I just experienced it and it's a waste of my time if I'm just reading and it's boring. It's not. You are doing the discipline of getting logos into your spirit so that when the time is right, God knows when to animate it and bring that to life for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
total
and
sense.
so whether you feel it in the moment or not, read it.
Yeah.
Get into Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, or all four of them, and just read about that weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And ask God to make it alive, to make logos into rhema. And if it doesn't happen in the moment, you might read it and then it's not until the Good Friday service or an Easter service you come to that, or the middle of the night, that all of a sudden God lights it up. And it's, this is now changing my life. But you got to get it in you in order for God to do that.
That's really, really good.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
You have a Stories in Scripture season on Holy Week.
I do, yeah. Yeah, me and my buddy Keith have a podcast we've been doing for years called Stories in Scripture, where we tell stories in Scripture in compelling ways.
Yeah.
The third season is called Holy Week, and it walks through very similar to the series we've been doing, from Palm Sunday all the way up to Resurrection Sunday. And so, yeah, Stories in Scripture on wherever you get podcasts. Apple Podcasts.
One other practical thing is to do a fast. You could do a Friday fast where you just all day feel a little physical discomfort. And in those moments, just think about the discomfort Jesus was in. Not as a guilt trip, but as like a connection point.
Correct.
It says, we talked a lot about this in January, offer your body as a living sacrifice. Fasting is a way of doing that. And you feel it physically and it changes you spiritually. And it's a powerful thing to do when you're focused on the living sacrifice of Jesus. You could do a 3-day, Friday to Sunday, or you could do like a break from your phone or distractions to really hone in on mentally being in those couple of days with Jesus. So embrace it. You could also, are you going to say something?
Oh, no, it just reminded me of like the criminal on the cross next to Jesus who repented. And Jesus said, today you'll be with me in paradise. That guy had an experience of intimacy with the Creator, with God, that nobody else, like not even Peter or John or James, knows what that criminal knew in that moment, because he was in it with him in a depth and a way that no other human being was. And that's kind of a crazy, cool thing to think about. There was a shared experience. And so what you even described about fasting, it's not like go look for pain so that you can be in it with Jesus. It's not that at all. But there is something to be said about reminding yourself, I'm going to try to walk with you in this just for the sake of proximity, not for the sake of earning penance, but for the sake of understanding and intimacy with God as much as possible.
Yeah. That guy might be making an appearance on Good Friday.
Ooh, foreshadow.
Is that right?
Services. Speaking of, One other way you can connect to Holy Week if you're in Austin.
Yeah.
Come to services.
Correct.
Good Friday, 5:30, 7:30. No kids at the 7:30. Saturday, Easter services 4 and 6. Sunday, Easter services 7, 8:30, 10, 11:30, 1.
Mm-hmm.
If you forget any of that, we have the Newscast on Instagram that will remind you of all that information.
The Newscast.
If you're not in Austin, like Ryan said earlier, find a place this weekend to go to a Good Friday service and go to an Easter resurrection celebration service and do it and be with the people of God celebrating the works of God and what he's done for us. And it's going to be great around here. Looking forward to it.
Me too.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Hello?
Yo, just checking in. I didn't see you today, obviously. Didn't realize you were going to be missing the pod. Just wanted to see if everything's all right.
I just need some time. I'm just kind of processing some things right now. Yeah,